So we will be introduced to client, server-side programming. Client is something that runs on your desktop, or it could run on, your other device. However, not many portable devices support Python. You can usually download and install a Python. If you want to, edit Python programs on your iPad or your phone or whatever, you can do so. Not the best way to do it. And server-side, which is when something's sitting on the other side of the internet generating web pages. You will develop and create applications using Python and learn to create interactive web pages using JavaScript. Now, last semester we only got like 3 lectures in on JavaScript. I'm hoping that we can move a little bit more quickly so we get more JavaScript in, because it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff, and it has real-world applications. Lots of them. Alrighty, I'm Professor Jeff Thompson. You can call me Professor Thompson. You can call me Jeff. Just don't call me any names. I'm good with it. I'll post my office hours. Here's my phone number. I would appreciate it if y'all would grab your phones. Even if you've had me in the past, I've deleted your number, since the summer was ended. Send me a text with your name. Also put scripting on it, so it's really easy for me to distinguish. Howdy, howdy. Let me guess, you are, well, I can't show that right now. I'll check your attendance later. So grab your phone, send a text to me at 898-7767 with your name followed by scripting. Why do I want that? The reason I want that is, bad weather, I can call you and tell you not to bother to come in because, there's tornadoes on the way or whatever. That way you don't have to text me asking if, we're going to meet or not. Also, if you can't make it for a certain day, it's kind of cool if you tell me. If I'm going to be late, if I've had a car wreck or whatever and I'm limping to school and I know I'm going to be 10 minutes late or whatever, I can text all of y'all and let you know. More importantly, perhaps, is that it's a really good way of working with me when you're stuck on a programming problem. You get stuck on a programming problem, you just pull up your code on screen, you take a picture of it, you don't even have to email it to me. Quite often I'll be able to spot it just from the photo. If I can't spot it from the photo, I'll ask you to email it to me because I'm not going to sit there and type in everything that you sent a picture of. But, we have a shot at solving it, like within 5-minute turnaround if you send me snapshots. So if I'm in your contacts list, that makes it real easy to communicate. Somebody needs to mute their phone. That somebody is me. Alrighty, so prerequisite, you should have had 1113 or another programming course. If you've had another programming course that taught you Python, some of it's going to be recap. Hopefully some of it will be really new too, so that you learn a lot more about it. It's a hybrid course offered both lecture and online. Comment I need to make about that is that if you want to switch to taking it purely online, you can do that, but you'd want to do that pretty quickly by the end of the week, I think. So I'll explain how that's going to work. So what you need to do this course: a Windows, a Mac, a Linux system, anything that you can install Python on. More specifically, Python 3 with the idle development environment. Idle comes installed by default with Python. So you're good to go. As soon as you download and install Python 3, you can do this work. I've had people ask if they can use Chromebooks in order to do this. And yeah, there are pages online where you can type in Python code and run it, but you can't do everything with it. So I hope you're not using Chromebooks. That was kind of a drag. So, how is a class delivered? Delivered in lectures. I come in here. Sometimes I stand up and wave my arms around. Sometimes I'm sitting here typing in code. Videos of the lecture will be posted online. I take a recording of every lecture, unless I miss one. Please do not let me miss one. Bonus points if you say, have you started the recording? So, if you want to take the course online, purely online, rather than sitting through the lecture, which I don't recommend. Sitting through the lecture, you get a chance to ask me questions and stuff like that. It's a better experience. But if you needed to switch over or something like that, the videos are posted online. You just have to watch the videos and then type in the stuff that I'm typing on the screen, just like you were in the class. So, if you miss a day, you can watch the video and do the same thing and upload it, and you'll get full credit for that day. And I'll talk about daily assignments in a minute. So we have a textbook, Python for Everyone, 2nd edition. If you want to get it online, you can. I use a Kindle version of it. Kindle version's cheaper than buying it. If you are renting it, if the school offers a rental program on it, just be sure that you get it back in at the end of the semester, or they charge you more than they would have if you just bought it outright. Okay. Okay, so speaking of textbooks, we're actually going to use two different textbooks. They even have the same name, just to be confusing. But here's what we're going to do. The textbooks, one of them, I'm going to call it the physical textbook. That's the one that you go and buy. Even if it's not physical, even if you're reading it on your Kindle or whatever, we're going to call it the physical textbook. Then, yeah, you click it open, you get the information about how to, whatever. Then we have an online one. Python for Everyone. Exploring data in Python 3. So again, it's called Python for Everyone, confusingly. Completely different text. But it's online. So, you can go here, and we're going to kind of step through some of these things as well. If you took my 101.3 course, you're familiar with us using the Python for Computer Scientists one. It's kind of similar, except this one is kind of nifty in that it even comes with a little Python editor where you can type in code right on the screen here. Usually, we're going to want to use our own on-screen editor, but it's kind of nice to be able to do it here as well. So, two versions, the online textbook. Assignments will be drawn from the physical textbook. I will reference those. I'll say, okay, you need to do, blah, blah, blah on pages 153 and 154, whatever. And also I will make up my own homework for you. Because you could probably go out and Google some of the assignments, get the answers. Don't do that. You don't learn. And in fact, I go on and on in the syllabus about cheating. So we'll cover that in a minute. Short version, don't cheat. So what are we going to do? Learn scripting. It's called scripting. Python is known as a scripting language because it doesn't compile. It doesn't compile to make an executable that you can then install on your machine, a Windows machine as an exe or as on a Mac as a .app file or whatever. That means that it's interpreted at runtime. It's just delivered to the user as a text file. However, they don't know that it's a text file. All they know is that it's a py script. If you took basic programming back in grade school or whatever, same thing. It's an interpreted language. So there's something that sits there and interprets it. If you're learning Java, there's a Java interpreter. It's called the Java Runtime Engine that you have to have installed for any Java program to work. Same with Python. You have to install Python for it to work. And what happens is you open the script and you run it, and the interpreter goes ahead and processes it. So that's called scripting. There are all sorts of scripting languages. We will understand arrays, lists, dictionaries, parameter passing, class creation. Learn to use file functions for input and output. You may already have written files with Python. Hopefully we will do something a little bit more interesting with it, because you can not only write text files with it, but you can do kind of random access files where you're moving around in the file reading specific pieces of data. And create graphical user interface programs. May have done that before. We're going to do more of that, get better at it. And use JavaScript to create dynamic web pages. And in order to talk about JavaScript, we're also going to have to talk about HTML and CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. So I should have tacked that on in here as well. This is not an HTML class. You don't have to know a drop of HTML before walking in here. But we're going to have to know just enough to create the skeleton that JavaScript hangs on. I will give you multiple assignments, chapter quizzes, and 2 exams. Multiple assignments consist of 2 different kinds of assignments. One are the daily assignments. You come in, I type some stuff up here, you follow along and type it as well, we debug it together, then when you get it to work, you upload it. That's your daily assignment. You get credit for that. If you don't upload it, you don't get credit for it. Then there's the take-home work. That's where I post an assignment, you have a week to work on it, and you upload it. And if you have any questions over it, you ask me the next class time, or you text me or email me or whatever, and we work on it that way. Student services. If you need help, disabilities, rehabilitation needs, or whatever, contact what used to be known as the Office of Disability Services, nowadays known as the Student Access Servers. I suppose it's a lot better now that they've changed the name. Here's the phone number, and you can find their room at the LRC. For example, if you have strong dyslexia and it takes you a lot longer to work through a text or whatever, or to take a test, something like that, I can work with you. I've had people who could only type with one hand, They found it more difficult to work, keep up in the classroom environment. So I accommodated them as well. So you go there, they help you, they gather their information, and they have you bring me a note asking for what you need for, whether it's additional time on exams. In one case, I sat there with the person and I read the exam questions to them. So, whatever it takes. So where to start? Log into, it's now known as Brightspace. That's the D2L is the name of the company. They decided to call the software Brightspace, but we left the URL D2L because calling it BS at rose.edu wasn't too cool. The name of it is going to change next semester, though. They've come up with a new front end to D2L, so it'll be interesting to see how it works. And then there's the course section for this class. Hopefully you know how to do that because you're reading the syllabus. Then you're going to go to the quiz section immediately and take quiz 0, which just has one question. You could do it right now, or you could wait until the syllabus is done. It proves you're attending the course. Why is that important? Because if you don't attend the course, if I don't see you on the attendance roll and you don't do quiz 0 or whatever, then you get dropped from the course with an AW. That happens 2 weeks in on a 16-week session. It happens 1 week into the course for an 8-week course. The AW gets recorded on your transcript. Whoever was paying you money to attend school comes and gets it back from you, that kind of stuff. So everybody here is already, you're all good. I think we have 100% attendance today, so that's pretty cool. Pardon me? Walked in. Yep, after we started doing the syllabus.
I'm actually not in I'm on your online class.
Oh, you're sitting in. Okay, that's awesome. You're right. We're still down one. Okay, that's another point to make is I told the online students that if they want to sit through the lecture, they're totally welcome to as long as there are free workstations. Looks like there's not a terrible number of free workstations, but also the pillars in the way. Great. Anyways, I'm glad to see you. That's cool. All right, so like I said, there's programming homework. Programming this is a little bit different. Okay, and then there's the daily assignments. Daily assignments, I call up here tutorials. And then there's the quizzes and the exams. I need to bump quizzes down because they're actually part of your exam grade. The quizzes are online. I don't like to take up time in class with quizzes, usually. I might, but, if I could, I'd rather you sit here and learn, for the 30 minutes that a quiz might take or whatever. So I usually give the quizzes online. And I usually offer you the opportunity to take it again after you see what questions you've missed. So, you ought to be able to get 100. Take it a second time. So a third of it is the in-class assignments, a third of it is programming homework, a third of it is exams. There's one caveat to that, though. Maybe you think that if you get 100% on the exams and you, ace all the in-class assignments that you don't have to do any of the programming homework, or you're sitting there with a D, or maybe you do one assignment and bump it up to a C. You can't pass the course unless you do half of the programming assignments. The reason for that is it is an applied knowledge class as well. You need to not just sit in class and take exams, but you're going to do your own programming as well. There's kind of an R missing there. Pretty traditional grading scale. 90%'s an A, 80%'s a B, and so on. I can't tell you by email what your grade is. However, you can check it inside D2L. There's a page in D2L. You go up to the course tools, grades. You can see where you're at. I'll try to keep it as current as possible. Exam dates. I'm going to post some exam dates. We have the 2 exams coming up, pretty much a midterm and a final. You'll certainly have like 2 weeks notice of that at the very least, but since I'm going to post those at the very beginning of the course, you'll have a lot of time to plan around it. Well, that reminds me of something. Those of y'all who are long-term students may be used to the fact that you only get a couple of days off for Thanksgiving. We're getting the entire week off for Thanksgiving now. And so, yay for that. The consequence of that is that some of the finals roll over to the next week after the courses, are done. So some people wind up coming in class, a couple of days later after what would have been the end of the semester. Okay, grading policies and late assignments. Programming assignments must be able to run in order to get any credit. If you turn in something and it crashes right away, I can give you an example of that. I'm going to launch the Python editor. Those of y'all who know how to do this, great. Those of y'all who don't, you just go to the little start box down here, good old Windows 7, idle, IDLE. Why is it called idle? Because of Eric Idle of Monty Python, the guy who created the Python language is Monty Python. Alrighty, so launch that. And for those of y'all who are working on this at home, you may not have idle in Python installed yet, so just kind of watch. Then do new file. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to type in something that doesn't work. So it's like, not that this is real riveting. And I need to bump up the font size so that y'all can see it. Well, that doesn't help. I'm dialing the wrong thing over. Alrighty, so here's where we're scripting. File, save as. You may have used another editor. You may have used PyCharm or something else. If you want to continue using another editor, that's also totally cool. I'm just going to continue probably using idle. I don't think I'm going to switch over to using PyCharm. I should. It's a pretty cool development environment. Better than idle. More sophisticated, however, it is not installed by default. Okay, the very first thing you do when you start creating a script is you have to save it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do new folder. I'm going to call it scripting, and then I'm going to drag a copy of my folder over into my favorites so I can always get to it lickety-split. And I'm just going to call this oops, because it's not going to work. Okay, so say we don't know anything about the Python syntax and we think we can do this. Print hello. What is your name? And then name is equal to input. Print hello plus name. And it kind of looks like a programming language. It's not Python. It's not going to run. So I did a save. I like hitting just Control S, you know, the key. You don't even really have to do that because if you choose run and you haven't saved it recently, it tells you. I think the font could be bumped up another couple of font sizes. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to run it. I go up to run and choose run module. If I choose Python shell, it just brings up what's known as a shell where you can type in Python commands interactively. You're not writing a program here, you're just typing in commands interactively. I wonder what 2 plus 3 is. Okay, we're not going to use the Python shell for this little exercise. Instead, I'm going to do run module, boom, missing parentheses and call to print. Okay, hopefully that's enough information for me to fix it. That kind of error means the program didn't even start running. If your program doesn't even start running because of syntax errors, then I'm not going to grade it. So just be warned. Now, if it's because you accidentally hit the space bar before you uploaded it and it's something incredibly trivial, if I can fix it after 5 seconds of looking at it, yeah, that's okay. But if it looks like you didn't know what you were doing and you didn't care, then you're not going to get any credit for it. So has to be able to run. Has to be able to not have syntax errors when you start it. And there's all sorts of syntax errors you can make. All right, so I just closed that window. There we go. But that's an example of what we're going to be doing on a daily basis, is opening up a script and typing some stuff in here, as well as going through lectures and things like that. So they have to be able to run to get any credit. If they have syntax errors and won't run, I'm going to give you 2 out of 100 points. Why 2 out of 100? You will know instantly that that's what was wrong. Also, you can check your feedback. However, that's not your final answer. By what I mean is that you can revise it and re-upload it for more credit. Are you going to get 100% on it? Probably not, but it might give you 90 or whatever. You just get it working. So partial credit may be awarded for assignments that do not meet full criteria for the assignment. What does that mean? I ask you to calculate the value of pi to 5 digits, and you calculate that pi is equal to 4 rather than 3.14159, whatever. Maybe your algorithm was correct, but there was one little mistake in it that caused that, whatever, it meets some of the criteria that I asked for. It doesn't meet the whole criteria. So I give you a 50 or a 70 or something like that, and usually I will say, please correct this and submit it again for more credit. Programming assignments are generally due 1 week from the day they are assigned. If I give you an assignment today, on Tuesday, it would be due Monday night, the following night. And I usually give a 1-day grace period, so that if you get it done, Tuesday rather than, Monday at midnight, I don't knock you down usually. So all due dates will be specified in D2L. Why did I say generally due 1 week? Well, I'm not going to make you turn in something in the middle of Thanksgiving, or fall break or whatever. In that case, we're going to bump the due date back. Alrighty, this was supposed to be removed. I was not going to give you bonus credit for getting homework assignments on time. However, it's in here, and those of y'all who've had me before are used to that, but it's only 5%. I don't know how the 10% cranked up in here. So get your homework done by that, midnight of the day before. You're going to get a 5% bonus on it. And that kind of adds up after a while. You get 10 assignments with a 5% bonus. That's 50, kind of bonus points. You might be able to blow off an assignment at the end of the semester or something. Plagiarized assignments will be rejected. No credit will be awarded. How could you plagiarize? Well, you could copy your neighbor. You could copy your friend. You could copy somebody who's taken a course previously. I try to change the homework up so that doesn't really happen. But common problems include the fact that I let y'all work together on the in-class stuff. You have a syntax error, you spot it, you're already done with it. It's totally cool if you go, hey, just tab that over and it's going to work. You're not obligated to do that. But when I'm wandering around helping people, if y'all are helping each other too, the class goes that much faster. That's cool. But then people get used to the idea, hey, I have a programming buddy. You need to do your own work on the assignments. If you get stuck, ask me. Don't ask your professional programming wife or, whatever, husband, brother who's, a CIS major or whatever, ask me for help. The other thing that okay, here's a note. If somebody asks you for your code, they'll go, oh man, I've got a syntax error. Can I look at your code? And you go, oh yeah, sure. They ask you over Snapchat or whatever. Take a picture of the code, send it to them. More likely you send them the entire document, they turn around and they upload your code as theirs. It's happened before. You both get zeros for that. I hate to do that, but you both get zeros for that. Don't do that. All right, we're going to talk more about academic dishonesty, cheating in just a little bit. Why? Because it's been happening a lot. Late homework, and not just in my classes, thankfully, make me think there was something wrong with me. There's a kind of a sliding scale. If it's up to 6 days late, you still can make a 90 on it, minus 10 points. After that, next week, the max you can make is a 75, 25% deduction. After another week, the max you can make is a 50%. Another week, the max you can make is a 25% off. After that, you've had 4 weeks to work on it. You're not going to get any credit for it. If you tell me that you're, having problems or whatever, yo, I'm giving birth, I'm not going to be able to work on stuff for a week. Yeah, I get it, or I'm sick or whatever. I will say it's okay, but when you upload the assignment, also in the little field that you get to type in things when you do so, remind me that I said it was okay, so that I'm not sitting there wondering, why you turned it in a week late and I might forget. Minimum work completion to pass, you must do at least 50% of the programming assignments. Those are the take home. You can't use the 50% of the in-class work and think that that means, that covers the take home as well. Doesn't mean you can skip the exams or the tutorials without it seriously affecting your grade. Just saying, get at least half your programs written. Better than that, get them all done. Make an A. That's really what I want y'all to do. Okay, here's a lot about academic integrity. Plagiarism is the use of other people's thoughts, words, and phrases. And it's slightly blurry in a programming class. So why do I say that? Anytime you get stuck, you're going to go to Google. Okay. Text file reading in Python. You're going to get 20, 30 different examples of how to do it. A lot of them are going to be from stackoverflow.com, which is kind of like the premier site now for programmers to exchange information. There's snippets of code here. If you do that, just look at it and write some of your own code. Incorporate it into your own code. Do not do this. Alrighty, I'm going to copy, 20 lines of code, paste, run it. Well, it kind of does what he wanted, upload it. I'm going to be able to tell that you didn't write it yourself. It's going to use different programming techniques than I taught you, and it's probably not going to do exactly what I asked. For example, when I asked people in my last class to create a GUI application that did a very specific thing, some people went out and they copied code for a different graphical, user interface, and they uploaded it. It was quite obviously that they hadn't written it themselves, and it took me about 0.2 seconds to find where that code had come from, and so they got a 0 for the assignment. And anyways, you don't want to do that. Just like if you're writing an English paper. If you copied several paragraphs or an entire thing from online, it'd be bad. Just incorporate it. Learn from the examples. Just like if you had a book. You wouldn't just copy text out of the book and turn it in as your own program, but you can see the techniques that'll fix it, Okay, I see how to read a file now in Python. Okay, I'm good to go. I'm going to write my own program to do that. Hope that makes sense. Alrighty, consequences for academic dishonesty. What happens? You'll be given a 0 on it, which is really bad news if it's an exam, right? Because an exam, you only have 2 exams in the class. You got a 0 on the exam. That's bad news. How could you cheat on the exam? Well, I let you use your book, and I let you use the internet to, look at PowerPoints and things like that. So I really give you a lot of leeway on what you're going to do there. Don't sit there and open up a chat program and ask people, for the answers. If I see that happening, you get a 0 on it. If don't open your phone and sit there, and text people, your friend or whatever, on how to do it. So just don't do those things. And why do I mention them? Because both of those things have happened. I'm not just making these things up out of the blue because I feel like talking about them. So if that happens, you'll get a 0 for the assignment. It'll also be reported to the division dean, Mark Tippin, who I will consult with him, and we decide if you fail the class. So that's kind of a 1, not a 2 strikes and you're out kind of situation. If you've been an exemplary student up until that point, we'll talk about it, but I'm still going to bring it to the attention of the division dean. So don't do it. Alrighty. It's kind of traumatic for me. Don't make me feel bad. It's also disrespectful to your professor, because they're sitting there trying their absolute best to teach you, and they would jump through hoops in order to get you to help. I will do that. Okay, if you need information about withdrawing, getting incomplete grades and stuff like that, you can get it from the student handbook. You have plenty of advance notice of the exam, so attendance on the exam days is mandatory. If you must be absent, discuss it with me. I'm not going to give you a 0 because you couldn't come that day. But it's really not fair if, people take the exam and then you get to take it a couple days later after asking people, what was on the exam. Attendance is otherwise strongly encouraged, and for the first 2 weeks mandatory. Y'all are already covered by being here this day. You're not going to get an AW. But if you do not participate in class within the first 2 weeks, you will be dropped from the class with an AW on your transcript. Otherwise, I just have to keep track of it for, purposes of, giving to the office, proving that you were here or not. All right, if you need to withdraw, I'm just going to let you read that. None of y'all are going to withdraw. You're all going to love this class so much that, that you'll do anything to stay here. Institutional grading policies. I won't give any incompletes in this. Kind of the way that a lot of the professors are doing it here now is if you do not complete the class, you get marked with an F, but then you work it out with me and you say, okay, really all I needed to do was to do the final project and this and that, and I would have passed, right? And I'll say, yeah. And you say, okay, I'm going to do that, by January 20. And I will go and I'll file a grade change request. Because otherwise what happens is you mark somebody with an I and then they don't complete the work. That F on your transcript motivates people for some reason to get it done. All right, go to the quizzes section in D2L and take the I am enrolled in this course quiz. I need to change that to say quiz 0. It's just one question. You don't answer true anymore, you type your name. Let's go do that. Well, that would be a problem.
I saw on the syllabus you want us to zip the Python files.
I don't really care if you zip them or not.
Okay.
It's cool either way.
I just thought I'd ask.
Very good question. So yeah, when you're done, you can just upload the files as PY files. If it's a really complex project with a whole bunch of things, then yeah, zipping it might be really nice, be easier on you. But that's not going to happen until towards the end of the class when we're creating web pages and stuff like that. All right, all right, so to take the quiz, course tools, quizzes. Everybody knows how to do this, but I'm going to walk through it anyways. Course tools, quizzes, find a quiz, click it, start the quiz. I don't have a start button on my little preview here. So you start the quiz, you type in your full name where it asks, you click save, and you click submit. And that proves you were here. What's the first thing we're going to do today? And the last thing. It's going to be pretty simple low-level stuff that you probably already know from taking the last Python class. Taking 1113 or whatever. I'm going to talk about the idea of variables, decisions, and maybe a loop. Okay, what is a variable? I'm going to start glaring at those of y'all who've had me before. Variable is a named place in memory that can store a value, like this. My age is equal to 13. I'm extraordinarily young. My name is equal to Joe Bob. My temperature, I'm just going to call it temp, is equal to 98.6. All right, we see three variables there. Each one is holding a different kind of data. A whole number is called an integer. I'm going to add a comment. All of these red lines that start with a hashtag are comments. The comments are ignored by Python. So this is what's known as an integer. An integer is a whole number. That thing that says Joe Bob, that's a string. A string is a series of characters. Integers have real meaning to computers. Computers know how to manipulate numbers and stuff like that. Strings are just series of letters, and the computer doesn't really know what a series of letters are, so it's a fundamentally different data type. And then lastly, this is what's known as a float or a floating point number. Floating point number is something that's got a decimal point in it, even if it's 98.0. Now this language is kind of loosey-goosey as compared to some. In some languages, if you create an integer, you cannot store a float in it. If you create a string, you can't store an integer in it. Once you declare that variable, then you can't change its data type. Python's not like that. If I wanted to turn around, and don't type this, and I wanted to type name is equal to blah, 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 it doesn't mind. But if I print out name, it's not going to print out Joe Bob anymore. It's going to print out whatever I typed in there. And this is even of a different data type. So Python is what's known as a loosely typed language. I'm going to put that as a comment in here. A strictly typed language is one where once you say something is an integer, that's all you can put in it. Once you say something's a string, that's all you can put in it. All right, a decision. Decisions are when the code optionally executes. What do I mean by that? There'll be different blocks of code, and in certain cases, that block of code will run, and in certain cases, they won't. So, if age is less than 18, and Python is extraordinarily picky about tabs, so you have to start anytime you see a colon, the next line has to be tabbed over. Print, let's put their name, followed by the words, "You are too young to vote." That's a decision. Now how about if your temperature is less than 90 degrees, there's something really wrong. Print. This is not going to look right. We're going to go back in and fix these print statements. Are you feeling okay? The last thing we're going to do is we're going to put a loop that just counts their age down to 1. Why? I don't know. While their age is greater than 0, do this stuff. Print year, followed by a comma, followed by their age, and then let's subtract 1 from their age. Age is equal to age minus 1, which you could rewrite as age minus equals 1. I put lots of spaces in my stuff, and a lot of places the spaces are not necessary. You could do age equals age minus 1, like that with no spaces. I think it's easier to read like that. And then lastly, let's put a print done down here at the bottom, just to let them know that everything, that we're all done, that they can turn off their computer and go home. Alright, I didn't save this one. I'm going to do so now. I'm just going to call it Aug22.py, py standing for Python script, AUG22. I'm not real picky about what you name your programs. Aug22 followed by a space followed by your name would also be cool. Aug22 Jeff Thompson. Feel like doing that? That's cool. Alrighty. Now I'm going to run it now that I've saved it. Alright, it says, Joe Bob, you're too young to vote. If you didn't enter a young age, it didn't say that. If I'd entered a temperature less than 90, it would also tell me, are you feeling okay? Then it starts counting down the age. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, whatever, all the way down to 1. So we've seen a couple of things here. We've seen what variables are. They contain values. When I told it to print out the name, it printed out Joe Bob. When I compared the variable to a number, it was able to compare that 13 to an 18 and decide that 13 was in fact less than 18, and it optionally executed that code based on this condition. Since the temperature was greater than 90, it did not do this code because of this condition. So that's what if statements do. And then we had a loop. While is kind of like if, except when it reaches the bottom of the block, what does that mean? The first unindented line is the bottom of the block. When it reaches that, it goes back up to the top, reevaluates the condition, and goes again. So since my age was 13, it printed out year 13, but then it subtracted 1 from the age. It reached the end of the block, it jumped back up here again, age is still greater than 0, so it prints out 12. And it keeps following that process until age is no longer greater than 0. At that point, when it hits the bottom of the block of code, since this while condition is no longer true, it falls out of it, prints are done, and we're done. All right, I'm going to wander around and help you all with this just a second. There's one last thing I want to tack on, which is I want a header block on the top of every program you write. August 22 in class or tutorial. Just put your name and that date, and we're good to go. If it's a homework assignment, list the homework assignment and put a short description of what it does. You know, this program calculates pi, something like that, just so I know that you know what you were doing. Okay, that is enough. Let me pause the recording, walk around, make sure everybody has got this. If you've used another programming language, this is a question I was asked. You are used to having to declare your variables. What does that mean? If we were using Java or C or something like that, we might have to put the word int in front of it to say this is an integer. We might, don't type this by the way guys, it doesn't work in this language. You might have to say that a name is a string. And you might have to say that temp is a float. This language, this is a strictly typed language. Once you do that, age can only hold integers. But Python is a loosely typed language, meaning that you can store anything into any variable that you want. All you have to do is give the variable a name and a value, and from then on, it knows that it's that value. So if you're used to having to declare your variables beforehand, you don't have to in this language. If you're a C programmer or whatever, you've had to do that. In scripting languages like this one and JavaScript, you don't. Is there a problem with that? Well, I like strictly typed languages in as much as it's easy to make typos, and strictly typed languages catch that. If I come down here and I don't type this again, and I say print name like that, that's a misspelling. The program, when I run it, it may not even catch that until it gets to that point. Alright, it did catch it here, but if it's a strictly typed language, all your variable names have to be correct, match whatever you call them, before the program will even start to run. And if you're trying to do something that's wrong, if name is less than 10, you know, like that, then it catches it right at the compile stage, even before it tries to run it. So I do wish that we had to define our variables, but we don't. In some cases, we do have to say that this variable is a global variable. We'll learn about that later. Good question. So I'm going to upload this. I'm going to close it. I'm going to go to the Dropbox, which is going to be created uno momento. If you go back to the Dropbox now, choose Course Tools, Dropbox, whatever, you'll see the Dropbox for it. I'm creating it in the other. It's confusing having two scripting classes. I see now why some teachers just throw everybody into one regardless of whether you're taking it or not. Alrighty. I apologize for that. So go to the Dropbox. You'll see August 22. That's going to be the date of the video that you watch if you're not in here that day. And you probably know how to upload files. I'm going to walk you through it anyways. Go to the Dropbox, go into it, click Add File. If you like drag and drop, you can do that. Otherwise, click Upload, go to wherever you saved your file, my scripting folder. If you want to, you can put everything you typed in that day. I created one called oops.py, you know, whatever. Click Add. And until you click submit, it's not actually saved on the server. It's like creating an email and then you click attach. You got a file attachment, but the recipient doesn't get it until you click submit. All right, there you go. Hopefully you'll get an email saying that you submitted it. You'll see a page that says successful, and you're good to go. All right, so homework. What is our homework going to be? Our homework is going to be to install Python if you do not already have it on your machine at home. So all you need to do is by Sunday, and why wait that long? And I know 4/5 of y'all already have it installed on your machine at home. Is install Python and then upload me a Word doc or a Python script or whatever that says I've installed Python. If you're not going to install Python and you're planning on doing all your work on campus, instead say that. That's not what I recommend, but you can do that. So that will be homework 0. Do can't wait to see if that hidden flag is set. Go to restrictions. Yeah, what do you know? That's brand new as of this semester. I do not approve. Guess it's not a terrible thing though. I just have to click that. Just had to know it. Okay, so due Monday night. 90% of y'all already have Python uploaded, so just create a text file. I mean, Word doc, text file, py script, type in it, I have Python installed, you're good to go. Or if you're not going to install it, put a note to that effect there. And it is worth a grade. Easiest grade you're going to get in the class, huh? All right. Are there any questions? We good to go? I know this was really super basic. We are going to cover some of the basics again of Python. I'm hoping that we go through those pretty quickly to not bore the students who have already learned it, and then get into new stuff as we go along. So that's our goal. Alrighty, why don't we call it a day, and I will see y'all on Thursday.